It's just different.
Hopeless at one point and then having an opportunity to make you go harder, make you get in that booth and just really express that hopelessness. Like, man, y'all don't understand. This is like, you know what I mean? You dig from a different place. That bottom of your soul, that pit, homie, where you felt like the shit was, you know what I'm saying? You always wanted, but it looked like it was just not gonna happen.
Shit, in your mind it ain't gonna happen, shit, it probably won't. I took some risks, some people probably won't. That's how we're grateful for the fruits of all my labor. Hard to live and know you sick, I'd rather be with my creator, thinking time's up.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Four Insight Podcast. This is your host, Mike Obi.
And it's your boy, London Overtree, back for some more gems. What's up, my guy?
Not a thing, my brother. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Kind of missed last week's episode. Was on vacation. Now I'm back. Good. Glad to be back.
Yeah, man, you looking like you got your little tan and you got a little glow to you. So looks like you had some fun.
It did get darker. I didn't really like it at first, but I guess it's cool to be a little darker, I guess. But I got away and kind of got my mind right.
Good. It's always good to get a reset in. So before we get into this week's episode, obviously, we appreciate all of you guys rocking with us. Continue to rock with the podcast and with the platform by following us on YouTube, subscribing, follow us on all your listening platforms, including Anchor, Spotify, and as well as Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating to boost us in the algorithm and continue to share the platform and the message to all the people who you guys rock with and continue to spread the movement. All right, so L, this week's episode, a bit of a reflection and time to take a deep dive. So we talk about in our culture, a society of unhealed men and women and just unhealed people, right? You've heard me argue multiple times this whole thing of, well, I don't think men should be vulnerable. And we talked about that previously on, numerous episodes. What is your perception on just modern times in general in a nutshell? Just to start off, what are you thinking?
That's a loaded question. Just modern dating or just modern, just how people act in general?
Let's tackle actually both questions. So modern way people act just in general, what are you thinking?
Clout driven. I think it's very depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for social media aspect of it, it's very clout driven and it's very on what you have, not who you are as a person. As you can see, a lot of people, if they start off from the bottom, they're normally nice until they get to the top, and then they don't got to really speak to everybody. It's from what I kind of see. Just modern dating is it's a misconsumption of women and men for that side of it. At least it's like I'm kind of old school with it. It's like I think things should be everybody has a role. Everybody should do something. Like I think when you said a good point like last week, a woman who says I gotta cook and clean, they think is like, what is the word you said? They feel like it's like it's a chore and it's like they're obligated to do it, but like it's not that they're obligated to do it. It's just something that a man respects and it's like something that a man loves. So it's like a key to their heart. Like for me, I still like that in a woman. Mm-hmm. So I'm still towards that. But I think in the modern times, it's like, no, we're 50-50. I don't have to do this. You don't have to do that. But I think a lot of women want to be equal, but they also don't at the same time. So it depends on what they want to do. So it's a loaded question, but I think just modern times are changing because a lot of people I don't think people are comfortable on who they are. I don't think people even know who they are. So I think they're going with what a lot of, we got Justin LeBoy saying things, whatever his name is, and other people post things. So like stuff like that goes on social media, it just clogs people's brains. So I think a lot of people don't even know who they are themselves. So.
Dang, that's a great start. I mean, I agree with you. I think just in terms of modern culture, it's like you said, cloud driven and artificially minded people, people who care about what they see rather than the actual depth and really digging towards the surface and get into the root cause of people. I've talked about that previously because that takes more work. It's better just to be able to, it's easier and it's more comfortable just to be able to judge a person on face value. But then that's how I always say, people who see only with their eyes get fooled easily. You know what I'm saying?
Easily.
Like, okay, you look at somebody and they may seem like a good person on the exterior when you first meet them, but then whenever you start to get to, know them, it's like, okay, we aren't as compatible as we once thought, right? Whether it's a colleague, whether it's a friend, whether it's a person who you could potentially date. And I think people, as far as their approach to dating, is they want to have a relationship outcome but still want to live single lives, right? They still want to have the same autonomy as somebody who can do whatever they want. And I think that's where, relationships, people are not seeing the value in them. It's like, men and women feel like they're settling, if they don't get exactly what they want out of a man. A man, feels like every woman is, for the most part, this insufferable person who doesn't know how to compromise or, kind of buy into a role. It's like, no, good people do exist. And I think, we just have to, whoever they may be, have done a great job at, sort of getting people to really look at each other and kind of fight, men and women kind of at this whole like war, as far as like, a men and women are arguing, and we kind of, just, it's a conflict of ideals and kind of training. I think for the people who are able to find good relationships, they usually tend to kind of, dip off and hide and kind of be to themselves, which I can understand that. But then where that's unfortunate is that we don't see the healthy examples really depicted too often. Or if they are or if there are good examples that are depicted, they almost come off too perfect and too unattainable. It's like, how do I get that? Where do I find that? As a like a guy, right? Or as a woman, where do we find good men, and where do men find good women? And I think is really the problem, because everywhere people look is always something negative, unfortunately.
I think like for the dating side of it, like dudes with clout, girls with clout are always gonna get first. But I kind of like that for me, because like me, I know how I am. Like I don't really care about the numbers. Like as I told you earlier, like you're based off of whatever you have on your IG or whatever. Like if you have 200,000 followers, you're considered as a dude I'm trying to attract.
Mhm.
Versus this dude with 400 followers can be your soulmate. You wouldn't even know because you didn't even give him the time of day. But the dude with the 200,000 followers, he's somebody that you've been seeing. You've been seeing a lot of people like his stuff. You've been seeing a lot of people like her stuff. You've been seeing a lot of people comment on their stuff. So you want a little bit of that too. So it's like when you do get it, you come back to reality. If they hurt you, if she hurt you, if he hurt you, it's like, oh, he's a a-hole, he's a this, it is. Like, yeah, because it's like they got options. You can't, which is fine. You got just kind of, but there are some dudes up there too, or girls up there who got like clout that are good dudes. So it's like, it just depends who you rocking with. But for me, I just think it's kind of cool because I'm like, all right, well, I know who I am. And if you ever get to know me, that's why there's been so many girls I've talked to in my time after my like ex and stuff where they're like, wow, you're different, you're this. I'm like, how am I different? And they're like, you have a conversation. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, does people not talk? But like, I guess people don't talk. It's just like, that's weird to me. Like, communication is so big to me. And when people can't communicate, that's such a like turn off for me. So it's like, I don't know. I just think people are weird.
Well, I think what it is that I hate to be this person, but it's like social media really has kind of created a culture where, you people automatically are going to think that you want something out of them. Like the ability to just be able to sit back and have a conversation. It's like, we can't have a conversation without somebody having an agenda, right? Like, okay, prime example, I was talking to you about this offline. Me and my fragrance hobby, one of the things I kind of have to do, but like to do nowadays, is I have to go out and talk to people and bring fragrances around and kind of get them to give their impressions on what they think of the fragrance. We ask them kind of, what's your impression? What do you rate it? Is this good? Is it not good? And I'm doing that. I mean, one, as my way of trying to work on being vulnerable, because you have to put yourself out there. You have to actually conversate with strangers sometimes and kind of like share your interests with them. And I just see it as a fun activity and a means of trying to help people and educate them on fragrance, and have a back and forth. Maybe, you never know who you might meet. But for some people, it's like, okay, what do you really want? What are you really trying to get at? What are you trying to sell me? If this is a woman who we're approaching, it's like, okay, are you really trying to talk to me? Or are you really trying to do something else? It's like, no, that ability to where you can just have a genuine interaction. It's like, that's lost. It's always about what are you trying to get at, or who's trying to get the leg up on someone. And I think that's what has caused the level of divide. It's like, even you look at, you know, all different types of shows, depictions. Everything is about, oh, I was trying to get one over on this person, and then it did or didn't work, and then you come to the other side, and that person is talking about how they resent the opposite sex. They resent this, or they resent the world, or they resent our time that we're living in. Unfortunately, just a bunch of negativity and resentment, and not enough gratitude and just appreciation for times we're living in. It's like it's not all bad. I have to catch myself from time to time, like kind of like, look, this isn't all bad. We have the opportunity, and you got to just watch and mind the content and the people who you decide to interact and take in. Is my whole thesis with this.
No, it's absolutely right. Like, you gotta just wave out the good and the bad people. That's all you can do is stay out the way.
Yeah. So with that being said, though, this whole idea and then kind of everything we're talking about, it kind of poses the question of how did we get to this point? And we kind of talked about it a little, but even to the mindsets and to the mentalities that we've adopted, especially, we talk about, vulnerability and, even culture and guys, especially, being able to, talk and approach and, the resentment and all these other things, what have been some of the root causes do you think that it led us to where we are today?
What are the causes of why we got led to this? People getting too much. People. That's a good question. What do you think? I'm gonna pick your brain for this. I don't. That's hard.
Well, so in terms of man's vulnerability and just our ability to be transparent, I think that largely goes to society and family influences, right? I've talked numerously about how the way I was raised, crying was not tolerated, being emotional was not tolerated. You get punished, like physically beaten and abused, not abused. I don't want, that's a bad word, but like there's serious repercussions for a guy who is vulnerable. So you naturally have to put on tough skin, hard skin, and you have to kind of move that way, right? You get bullied, you know what I'm saying? You get bullied, and you get bullied in school too. Like society, bullying is a part of it, and it's a part of people's upbringings, right? Now people have one or two options. You can either let the bullying destroy you, as I talked about previously, or you learn how to pivot and adapt. Now, most people's means of pivoting and adapting is they tend to bottle things up, and then they say, well, I'm just never going to learn how to be transparent with my emotions, or I block things out. Now that's kind of what I've done, but I've acknowledged that might not be the best way of going about it, right? With that way of doing it, you tend to harbor things that maybe you should let out, you should let off your heart or let off your chest, or you have this tendency to not trust people in general. Like, I know that's how I am too. A lot of OGs have gotten on me about, like, Mike, like, you have too good a heart for you to be that way, for you to be cold and shit, so it's like you need to work on that. And honestly, like, if you're like, you have the potential to be in a good relationship, to be married, well, I don't know why you're not that type of stuff, but you keep blocking your blessings essentially.
I think
that's where it is.
I think to answer that and go off of like how you are like that is because it's like you have, like they say, you have such a good heart. It's like, and that's how I feel too. I'm like, look, y'all gonna really push me over the edge where I just really just don't rock with nobody ever again. Like they keep always saying, always try to love because love is good, this blah 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 blah. But it's like, for us, we're more mature than the average individual at our age. So it's like we don't really need to keep trying to get in love. Like, we already know what the heck we want. But it's like there's so many people with motives out here, and everybody's not healed. So everybody is just rebounding this and this and this and not fully properly healing themselves. And they're just jumping from dude to girl to whatever and just trying to like fill the void. And that's not how you do it. And then you're going to hurt the next dude. So like if you come to a healed guy or a healed woman and you just trying to play with her or play with him because you're still hurt, it's going to make him turn her into a whole demon. So it's like, that's why I say your way is good, because I'm trying to see how loyal you are before I even say I like you. Because it's like, let me question, let me watch you first before I might tell you something, but let me watch you, because you might be moving sketchy or just whatever, and it's just not how you should be moving. But once I see you move like a 10 toes girl or a dude, I put that pride aside and be happy to show you that I like you because I want that. But it's just y'all motives out here are so crooked, you just never know. So I agree with your side. I ain't gonna lie. So,
Yeah, I mean, like, again, I'm not the type to like to talk about myself. Like, I really hate that. Like when people are like, "Oh, describe yourself," I'm like, "Eh," because it makes me feel like I know everything and I don't. Like I feel like my biggest quality, or like the thing that I hang my hat on the most, is the fact that I don't know everything, but I'm willing to learn. And so that's why I surround myself with a lot of older people, like my dad, my older brother, two of my older mentors, my old coach. Like, it's a whole bunch of people who really have invested their time in me. And like, I take all of whatever they tell me and I try to simplify things down to, a very succinct formula. And that formula just is the matter of, hey, you reciprocate whatever you're given. You don't let people play with you. You don't let people, influence you, manipulate you, and you just move the right way. One of my OGs recently, I was having a conversation and I was explaining kind of my mentality to him, and he was telling me something really good. He was like, Mike, love is simple. It's just all about effort and transparency, and you don't have to overthink it, man. You just find someone who's compatible with you, and you guys build a life together. And then if things don't work out, don't take it personally, and you just you wish them well and you keep on and you move on with your life. And I'm like, that's absolutely correct. I agree with that. And that's kind of the way I believe I move, and that's worked for me. Right now, is my way going to acquire you, the most slaves? Maybe not, if that's what you're going for. So I just understand what my mentality, the way that I move, what that results in, and I accept that and I move on. And then if I want something different, I'll try something different, and then I'll reach out to those sources at that time. It's the way that I move and how I think.
Oh, great.
All right, now let's talk about, I think a lot of men's mentality, especially, it seems to be a very male driven episode, but I think women can learn a lot from this conversation just by kind of seeing our perspective, right? Is I think also the way that masculinity and vulnerability are defined to us as men, I think largely plays a lot of into our psyche, right? So when you talk about just masculinity and what it means to be a masculine man, what it means to be a man, and then taking that definition and then using that as a means to interpret vulnerability, what do you think of?
I think you have to have that as a man. Like, I think you have to. If not, I think a woman's gonna just walk all over you. Like, I don't care what nobody says. I think a woman, they say they don't want to. I think a woman wants to defer to a man and wants to be that woman, but they're afraid that men can't be that figure. Mm-hmm. So when a man demands greatness out of their woman, for me personally, I always tell women, if I'm with them, I'm gonna demand greatness. So if I'm on your ass, that's because I care about you. I could simply shut up and never speak to you again and not ever speak to you. I keep telling people this, but if I sit there and take the time out of my day to sit there and say, what do you want in your life? What are your goals? What are you trying to strive for? This and this and this, and elevate you to go to another level. I think that a woman will appreciate that and be like, let me defer to this man. And he knows he wants the best for me. So I can put that alpha down a little bit and bring that feminine side out of me. And I'm okay with him being that masculine figure, because it's like, he's showing me everything that he cares about me. He wants the best for me. So I'm gonna let him in. But I think a lot of men don't present that, because a lot of men are confused and they don't even know themselves. And everybody just trying to get it, like, they just trying to have sex. And it's like, at that point, I've got so used to just, like, don't get me wrong, I've been with women, but like, I don't really care that much about it. Like, I care about it, but like, I'm not about to sit here and be like a dude who just like, I gotta get with every girl in the world. Like, to me, that's not that serious to me. Like, if a girl can talk to me and pick my brain and have a conversation with me, like, I'm gonna find that probably 10 times more attractive over the time than just a girl with just the body and all that. Like, we get reeled in from the looks, but after that, you got to show me some intelligence. You got to show me some deep conversations. You got to show me that you on some hustle and stuff like me, because that's what's gonna make us last 60 years. Is the deep conversations. You saying that you want to go this. If a girl told me straight up, hey, I saw this duplex in Houston, me and you both got good credit. I'm trying to go in with this. Let's go try to get this duplex and kind of get this going so we can rent out some tenants. I'll probably drop my jaw because I'll be like, you have a different mindset than 80, 90% of these women. And I'll say, to me, we can build an empire. And from there, I'll probably die for that woman and run through a wall because I'm like, you're seeing the bigger picture instead of just seeing tomorrow. I need somebody to see the whole picture. And I can say, that's my person. I think people think I'm just a asshole, but like they see my side of it 7 to 8 months of when we stop speaking, usually when I stop speaking to women. So that's what I think about that.
I agree with what you said. I mean, so the way I largely form my opinions is that I get it from both ends of what I call the spectrum, right? So especially when it comes to guys' masculinity, I ask both men that question, or we have these conversations through like our little water cooler talks, through football, or through kind of just chopping it up. And then what I do is I take those opinions and then I propose them to women. So like when I have these back and forths, and this is why I value like some of the female friends that I have, because they're very smart individuals. So I'll ask them like, what does a masculine man look like to you? What does that mean? And a lot of it is tied to ability to have direction or have certainty or have like be firm on what he believes in, and so firmness, stoicism, belief, direction, things of that nature where there's a plan, right? And so I think a guy's masculinity is kind of developed as he ages and as he kind of goes through what I call the maze of life, where he goes through obstacles, setbacks, and he has to dust himself off. And, eventually he forms himself into a person who is somebody who can stand 10 toes down and really present a confident human being. I think masculinity is largely tied to confidence, which is why masculinity is not to me a male or female thing. Right. It's a polarity thing. So I always talk about attraction between men and women being like magnetism, right? You have a positive and you have a negative, you have a feminine, you have a masculine, right? So a lot of men who are taught to be more so into their masculine, at least, especially if they have fathers in their homes. And then in being a masculine male, they want to try to find a feminine female. A feminine female is usually his complement. She's the man's opposite. Right. So when you think of general feminine characteristics, that's someone who's a little bit more nurturing, a little bit nicer, a little bit more on the emotional side of the spectrum. And those two ends of the spectrum usually come together and they can create a compatible couple. I think what happens now is that that whole definition of masculinity kind of gets blurred. And then in terms of when things are muddy, when things are blurry, that creates less clarity. And when you have less clarity, you have less precision. Less precision causes more confusion. More confusion causes less resolution. That's the word. So that's how I see kind of masculinity for men. It's a matter of his ability to have direction, have focus, have drive, have ambition. And when he doesn't have that, he's less than his masculine. And in being less than his masculine, he's not as attractive to the opposite sex, being the female. Usually.
Facts. And I don't think men can be as vulnerable. So.
Right. And so how does that tie into his vulnerability? Well, you look at a guy who's usually more vulnerable is usually seen as more feminine. Is a guy who doesn't use reason. He uses, emotion more frequently than not. And a guy who utilizes emotion and kind of his feelings usually is seen as less attractive, right? He's seen as less trustworthy. He's seen as a person who can't stand firm, who doesn't take it, adversity well. Unfortunately, I mean, this is just what society kind of tells us and what is depicted. And so as a result, a guy's vulnerability, his emotions are told to be suppressed if he wants to truly be a man, right? Hey, if you like be a man, which means you can't cry, you can't be emotional, you can't be so you can't express your feelings.
A lot of women are going to kill you for that one because I agree with you. I agree with you because I don't think I always tell women, they'd be like, I want my man to cry. And I'd be like, if I was to say what you guys say, if I sit there and said, babe, I don't like the way that makes me feel. And then I just started crying and just bawling. They will look at me as I was soft. And they would be like, why is he always crying? If I did that twice, say I did that twice every 2 weeks, Okay, bro, you doing too much. You too big to be crying. Like we already over the size.
Too big to be crying. I like that one. Yeah, you too
You
big to
too
be crying.
big to be crying. Like you this and this. Why you crying? So me, it's just lucky for me that I don't even be emotional because I'm like, I don't think women see my side of it, which is fine. Um, I think a woman can really bring out that soft side of me. And that like it's really it's not hard, but it's not easy. But I'm really easy too. Once you study me, I think everybody should study their significant other. And I don't think women study. I think they just sit there and just be just looking pretty sometimes. I'm like, look, I need you to just really learn me or learn whoever y'all with. This is for a general level of speaking. I think if you learn your person and you learn them at the back of your hand, you can at least now you put yourself in the best eyes of saying, if you do something wrong, you know that it was on you. Because like me, when I talk to a woman, I want to know why they're mad all the time or what makes them mad. What do they like to eat? Like, what do they like? What can I do to surprise them? Or what can I do to make the situation better? If I know all these things of getting to know you and I still mess up, then that's on me. And I feel like women should do the same, and that can build a bond. And then y'all can have, okay, I know he gets mad about this. So I'm not going to put ourselves in this. And I'm not going to put myself in this so we don't get into this. And I think women just be over here looking crazy. Not all women, but men too. So I don't know how to even speak on it from a general level, but it's just like, this is what I'm seeing in the world. So don't shoot the messenger. I'm just hearing what I see from the world.
You know what? I'm glad that you actually brought up this whole conversation and that, women may kill me. Here's what I say though. And I'll pose this to you because this actually came up earlier this week. There are some women who would argue that the women who judge a man's vulnerability, right, those just aren't quality women. You hear that kind of term being thrown out, like you just aren't messing with the right women. You're not talking to the right women. You're not talking to quality women. So that's just on you to find the right ones. So what do you say to that? And if that's the case, then how does one go about finding a quality person? Or where do you find a quality person if that's the case?
I actually got that today. Somebody told me that I'm just not finding the right one. I'm like, look, I'm at a lot of places in my life, and I have yet to find somebody. I have people who I'm just like, I can see myself with them. But it's just like, I haven't seen somebody who just really, 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 right now at least, that just shows me that I'm just like, man, they're gonna be my wife, which is fine. But it's like I just don't even know, like the foundation don't even start off great. I need somebody that, like, you can't have a table without the legs. At least have the leg. So the legs are just right now, just like they care about social media too much. Is either that one, two, they heard about it last situation, three, they don't know how to talk and communicate, four could be they just ain't shit. Five could just be
just ain't shit.
Five could be just, I don't know what five could be, but them four, somebody's dealing with that, either man or woman. So it's like, I check out really easy now. I've been in a relationship for 6 years. And I've been through it for 6 years. And like, now I know what I'm looking for. If you can't present yourself in a correct manner and we can be grownups, if I'm talking to a girl and you don't know how to do quality things, I got to go in my head. But it's still a struggle, but I just don't know where to find the right person is. Are they at Walmart? Are they at Sam's? Are they at Target?
So I'll pose this to you then. Based off of everything you just said, because I could hear it already coming. What are you doing to attract those type of people to you? Right, is what people would honestly argue. What are you doing to attract a person who's too caught up in social media, who's too caught up in whatever you just described? Like, why do you keep finding those type of people if that's the case?
Because most of the stuff is on social media. I find them on. So, I mean, you gotta think about this.
Yeah.
I'm at work in corporate America. Most of the women that I'm around are married. And after that, I'm going about my day. I go to Alpha Land, and then most of those women are influencers. So they're social media driven. If I don't do that, I'm at the crib. And if I do something, I'm probably going out. So it's like, I'm not going to know, like, all this little fake narrative stuff of go to the library and this goofy stuff. You're not sitting at no library during the day. You're like, that's just real stuff. Like, you only do probably 4 things in this world. You either go to the mall and go do errands, you go to the gym, you go home, you go to work. Where else are we going? Or you travel.
That's true.
How the heck I'm supposed to find somebody that don't have that type of mindset of I just want to chill? Like, to me, I don't even care if you post your butt or nothing like this. I just care if you 10 toes. You could post this 100 times in a row, but if it's people that's bothering you, like, I know who I got, I'm cool. But it's asking a lot for these people in this world.
Yeah. All right. The boy
can't find the right person, because I mean, I don't know, like, I mean,
this is what I say, right? Because I hear that get challenged a lot, and that's honestly, that's a fair point. That's a fair argument. You know, women have challenged that, men have challenged that, OGs have challenged that. So my thing is, you know what, you're absolutely right. And I think the thing for me, what keeps me grounded is knowing that those people do exist, because you see that just as much as you see the bad, right? So it can happen, it will happen for me. That's what I think. But the main thing is you just have to be diligent, right? I think, you know, dating relationships is really attaining the ability to sift through the bad apples, the people who aren't compatible with you, and finding somebody who is, and who is quote unquote at least a fit. There is no, like, I'm not the person who believes in like the soulmate or the one. You create a good partnership, a good marriage, a good relationship based off of your actions, based off of your ability to communicate. You just have to find somebody who's like-minded and who works with what you want, and you work and you're what they want. You guys both fit each other's needs, and then from there, it's just a matter of building each other. Like, it's just a matter of building and understanding and compromise. I think the core quality really that's lost with so many people is that they don't believe in the ability to compromise. They don't believe in the ability of communication. Everything is my way or no way for most people, and to find a person who really truly is 10 toes down and grounded, they exist, but they may honestly be wired the way we are, in terms of they just aren't out on social media because they may be tired of it. And so then as a result, they just kind of sit back and mind their own business. So to find a person like that is just going to take a little bit more effort, a little bit more sifting, you know, or a little bit more, you know, evolving, navigating, is my opinion. Or, you know, you just have to put yourself out there a little bit more. That's difficult, but it can be done. You know, that's the one thing I'm trying to take on the challenge of now. Is like saying, okay, well, you know, if this is going to matter to me at some point, then I have to at least do the work where I can say I didn't expand every option, right? Or at least I can present myself in a way where I'm comfortable, and I take confidence in the way that I am, the way that I, you know, project myself. From there, if you don't rock with me, then, you know, hey, no harm, no foul, have a blessed day, keep moving. But, you know, I at least can say I'm doing my part and I'm putting in the effort. You know, it's not going to be a lack of effort for me.
That's real.
That boy London got a little heat there. Because
I hear that all the time. You ain't looking at the right spot. Girl, what do you mean I ain't looking at the right spot? Or man, whoever I'm talking to, like, I'm looking at the right spots. It's just these big chicken head people probably pissing me off.
Chicken head. Now I have this question though. Is it our biological disposition as men that we should lean more towards being non-emotional, towards being, you know, stoic, if you want to use a word, or do you think that gets grilled into us and that's more so part of our nurture?
Nurture. Well, it depends what culture you're speaking on. For us, I think it's culture and how we was built and brought up. Like you said, like, we ain't see nobody really cry. We ain't see nobody just love, kiss this way. I guess. I mean, me, I haven't, but so it's like, if you like skid your knee or something, even my mom would say this, like, she supposed to be this soft one, like she supposed to be the emotional side of it. Like, if I skid my knee or something, she'd be like, "Are you crying? You good? All right, get up then." Like, so it just over time that just, but maybe that's a good question. I don't know if everybody starts as a kid, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if everybody starts off, because as a kid, you start off emotional. You cry, you this and this and this. But my mama said I didn't cry as a kid like that. So maybe this explains how I am now. But usually kids start off emotional, kids start off crying. I wonder if that's how they are, and then they just get molded into toughness or just soft, or like say they just got baby the same way, like will they continue to be emotional? That's a good question.
I I mean, my answer is I think it is definitely a nurture. I mean, you look at it right there. So for guys, I mean, if you have parents who tell you that being emotional is okay, and they positively reinforce that, hey, if you feel sad, you should cry about it. You should let that emotion out as a means of being able to cope with it. Then I think those boys will be able to grow up feeling like crying's okay, and crying is just a healthy way of expressing emotion. Then you flip it to the other end, like you have young ladies who maybe grew up around a lot of brothers, that grew up in tough environments, and they grow up fighting, or they grow up having to have confrontations. Naturally you build up tougher skin that way. So I think your nature is what kind of is your initial predisposition, and then what your nurture does kind of can mold you to go down a certain way. So you might be a person who's naturally more sensitive, and then you get cultured into, hey, you gotta block that out, and you gotta be tough, right? Or flip it. You might be someone who's a little bit more introverted, and then through your culture and through your stimulus, you become more extroverted as time goes on. So I think definitely there's that. But my question is, though, for guys who um are cultured into being non-emotional, non-verbal, stoic, do you think that's unhealthy at the end of the day?
Depends how numb you turn, in my opinion. Like me, I always tell people, they be like, you gotta be hurt. I'm like, bro, I swear to God, like I'm so fine. Like I go about my day and be so happy. But like I don't know if I'm hurt or not, because I've already programmed my mind to know that I am good regardless. But like they always say, maybe you should try counseling. I don't think therapy or counseling works for me, but I've never been, so I can't even say that. But what if I went to one of those and I'm like, wow, I really was messed up. I just never knew.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. That's for men to put their egos aside and try those different things. It's like, I just know for me, I ain't never too hard for myself. Like I don't be saying I don't cry because I'm trying to be tough. I don't say this because like if there's a woman that really brought that out of me, like I would know for a fact, like that's my dog. Like that's the person I'm gonna rock with for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
She brought a side out of me that I ain't never seen. So it's like if I get that, I think that would be something I've never seen from a woman, is bring that like soft side. Actually, my ex brought that out of me a little bit, but like if I bring that out 100% where I could just be vulnerable, which I don't think I ever will be because I'm just me. But if that was to happen, that would be some of the most interesting things I've ever seen in my life, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think when you really can find that one person who can do that for you, I think that's the holy grail, right? For most men, I would argue. I think that, I look at my current job that I'm in. I've been doing this profession for 2 years, where I was in case investigations, and I was dealing with people who had COVID, and talking to these people on a day-to-day basis. You're having to talk and read through death reports. You're having to read through people who died, and you have to, like, I was a person who didn't even like seeing and watching death and all that other stuff, like growing up, and then having to be in this profession where that's part of it. You get numb to it, where it's like you have to develop thick skin. Like you can't have like this volatile reaction with everything. And it's kind of the same way, like as I've gotten older and like having people around me pass away. It's like taking it away from just relationships, but just like life in general. Like you become numb to life the more things sort of happen, and the more it's like this is just a part of it, like you can't get emotional every time something like this happens, or you can't get too bent out of shape every time something bad happens. So naturally I became like, hey, that's sad, that's unfortunate, and blessings to the most high, to those people and to their families, but you got to keep on moving, you got to keep on pushing. And like that's kind of how your mind gets kind of trained to think. And so I do think that a person's nurture can numb them, as you talked about, or like they can become really cold. It's like it's not that I don't feel emotion, but just that if I have that reaction every single time something happens, then it'd be all bad, I think, is the main thing. And so people's natural tendency to cope is just to become numb, and then becoming numb, it doesn't hurt as bad, which
Say it again.
and that's an interesting thing to see whether that's that's right or wrong, or whether that's healthy or not. I think as long as you don't get it to the point where you overcompensate for your emotions, where it ends up like you bottle it up and then it explodes at some other point in time. I'm big on that. Like, if you know that you have something going on, you have to find a healthy alternative, even if that means that you won't talk to your partner about it. You have to have somebody you can talk to about it. You should be able to at least communicate to your partner, right, man or woman, like, hey, this is happening, this happened, this is going on. I want you to know about this, right? I don't want you to panic, but I want you to at least be in the know of what's going on. I think that alone is a good practice of just kind of keeping your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend in the know of things. Like, hey, I have this going on. Hey, this happened. I think you should know this. You know what I'm saying? I think that builds that trust, and then building that trust and seeing how they react to it, you can start to build that bond, and then building that bond, you can kind of let your guard down because they're seeing you go through things in real time.
Absolutely.
I do have one question though. There are many who would make the argument, like, I talked about biological predisposition and the fact that we're men, right? Some people would say that that's a cop out, right? Like stating biology and nature, that's an unhealthy way of thinking of it. Like you're just blaming it on something. So what do you think about that? Do you think that's right?
You weren't in our shoes. Like, if you wasn't in somebody's shoes, you can't sit there and tell somebody if it's just you have the choice to be numb. Like, if you grew up in a household where that stuff was just toxic and you would just have to teach yourself how to be numb to it, because if your own blood and biological family can't show you a side of something that you just know you should, so why should I trust somebody out there in the streets? That makes no sense in my head, at least. So it's like, if somebody in my household and I seen the stuff I saw,
yeah,
and then I go out there and then be with another woman, and then she's like, well, why don't you let me in? Well, girl, you got to show me something, because I've been let down 1,000,001 times. So I can't afford 1,000,002. So I'm at a point now where just like, you got to show me. And it's like, if you can't show me, then we're just not meant for each other. That's fine. You can go your way, I go my way. There's a lot of men in there. There's a lot of women for me. But like you said, offline, there's a bunch of apples, and I have to see who's bad to get to the good apple. Yeah. There's going to be one woman who sits there and say, no, London, I know your problem. I'm going to stick by your side. I'm going to ride with you, and I'm going to learn you, and I'm going to do this. And that's going to be the woman for me. And you're going to do the same thing with you. And that's just how it is. There's no cop out. We all think differently.
Yeah, facts. Speak on it. Speak it into existence. All right.
Bars.
Now, I think at the end of the day, it's just important to have open communication. So as us, man, okay, working on vulnerability, I think the way you can start about that in the right manner, because there are people who say never and don't ever be this way. I think as I get older and as OGs start to kind of explain this to me and really invest, I think the main takeaway I've been able to get, and even women, me talking to them, shout out to those women who've been engaging with me. I think the main thing is having open communication with a partner that builds a strong relationship. Once you build a strong relationship, you can slowly start to open up if you trust that person. If you don't trust that person, it's you might have something bigger going on. But I know in a past relationship, that was one thing I had to try was, I very slowly let that person kind of understand a bit of my life and how I think. And I remember, like, it worked. I mean, that way of going about it worked, kind of doing it in dosages where it's like, okay, I'll tell you this. Okay, I'll explain this to you. And in turn, it was like, oh, I appreciate you trusting me with that, right? And then you slowly like, okay, well, she was able to handle that. Okay, this, and then it's just level. So I think you shouldn't go gung ho and just, oh yeah, all of my emotions poured out on a plate. No, I don't do that. Like, I'll never buy into that. But slowly starting to let people kind of understand the way you think. I think that's a healthy way of being vulnerable, being open, or like just kind of letting them understand your desires and what you're looking at or how you see things. I think, those are the means of, kind of being vulnerable that men can work on or try out, and then see if that works for you. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to be spending your life with somebody, odds are you're going to have things go on and happen where they can't be avoided. So for you to say, oh, you shouldn't know about this, I think honestly is unrealistic. Keeping it real, I think.
So I was gonna say hallelujah to this open communication stuff because that's the best talking point in all the topics we talked about. Because boy, please, I got a lot to say about this. Open communication, it builds a healthy, strong relationship. Absolutely. If you can't do that, please stay away from me. Because this is the thing. I got to put my hat on straight for this one.
Right.
If you build the ability, you don't even have to get into life stories. But I come from a situation of trying to learn my significant other. I got to keep repeating it because people don't listen. So I like to start off from ground up. I want to learn about you. You don't have to tell me all life stories all at once, but I just want to gradually learn about you. I want to see what you're about because that's going to tell me why you act like this now. And that's a thing called communication. So you sometimes, to me, a lot of women like, I don't like going on house dates or like coming to some because the guy's trying to this. Listen, girl, I will sit behind my island. You can sit over there across the room on that couch. I don't care to touch you. I want to pour my wine, Cabernet, and you can get you some wine if you want. But at that time, I just want to have a conversation with you. Why are you like this? Like, dude, why are you single? Okay, well, I'm single because this and this and this and this and that and that. I'm going to go off of that and keep learning you. And over time, I'm going to say, you know what? We had so many conversations. I see myself with you. You see yourself with me. Let's try this. And that does not mean you have to be exclusive with that person, but you have to start. To me, I get flack for this. And maybe I think you should talk for 6 months to a year before dating somebody, because I should not be dating you if I don't know you. But over that 6 months to a year, it's going to be hard for somebody to show you a fake side of them. And I think after like 6 months to 8 months, they're going to slip up a couple of times because that's just who they really are. Mm-hmm. And they can't lie for that long. So by me being a person that peeps game and me having communication with you, if you get past that 6 months, 8 months to a year, most likely you're going to probably be my girlfriend. If we have that understanding of you can do what you want, I can do what I want. But over time, if you communicate and say, I don't like you talking to women, I don't like you talking to men. If you keep doing this, I'm probably going to see myself out and I'm going to say, ooh, I might say I got to cut off everybody. Or if then I might say, nah, I want to keep my team. I want to do whatever. If you don't like it, then you can bounce. But if I really like you, I probably would cut down some things. But it's like, but having those conversations gives you the understanding of where we're going, and he builds that strong relationship. So I just think people don't have communication skills. I think men are worse than women, but there's some women out there who absolutely suck. And if y'all suck at it, y'all gotta get better at it. It's like, it's not hard. We're grown. Most of us watching this is gonna probably be 22, 23 and up, maybe 21 and up. Like, y'all go to school. Most of y'all people went to school. Like, y'all can have a conversation with a different person and kind of see what they're about. That's going to build a relationship and make sure y'all are good in the long run, not just worrying about next week. I think people just think about week to week basis. To me, that's trash.
You know, I was listening to what you said, and I agree with it. I think that's largely how I'm wired. You know, as far as like being able to get to know the person first before you guys become exclusive, and then exclusivity can become marriage, yada yada yada. But you know what the problem with that is? That takes time and investment, and people learn about time and investment. And, you know, you talked about, okay, well, you have to get to know somebody for 6 months. Do you really think people are wired to get to know someone for 6 months without being like, okay, this isn't going anywhere, I got to peace out, or there's somebody else
broken?
Huh?
They're broken.
You're right, but I mean that's the impact of whatever we want to call it. Okay, people say I talk about social media too much. I just think the way people are wired, everybody's taught to keep their options open, and if you're not getting what you want in a timely manner, then you got to peace out, right? Even if that's your soulmate, even if you get along with the person, the fact that, you know, I see like people like, you know, media figures, I ain't gonna name nobody's name. If he hasn't proposed to you in 6 months to a year, then he's not really serious about you. I'm like,
you said propose?
Or whatever the case. I've heard proposals. even if we on girlfriend, boyfriend, it's like if you haven't become if you haven't been proposed to within a year, then he's not taking you seriously. So I'm like, yeah, that's our problem, man. And like y'all don't get past that representative stage, yo. You need to get past the representative and see who really it is that you're dating, man and women.
I wish a
right?
woman would tell me that if you don't propose to me in a year, you're not taking me serious. I said, are you a fool?
Well, with that, it's about ultimatums at the end of the day. The worst thing to do with any person who respects themselves, but especially me, like this is the one thing I'll say that ultimatums don't work with me. If you ultimatum me, then you're trying to create confines, and that's not gonna work. I'm all right, you gotta go. I'm sorry. But you know, I'm not the type to talk about myself, but that's the one thing like I see where it's like 90 Day Fiance, like the fact that like I watch stuff like that where it's like I need to have this happen by this time, otherwise our marriage isn't gonna work. I'm like, okay, well, our marriage just isn't gonna work. Like I don't like seeing stuff like that. So I'm like, when people start having timelines and time periods and I have to have this by like, nah, man, I gotta go by the flow. And at the end of the day, if you're with somebody who you're compatible with and who you enjoy their company, enjoy their time, you guys are like you find someone who you found love with and you found a genuine connection. Forget the titles, man. Like, forget the titles, in my opinion. Like, yeah,
somebody's gonna tell us that the timeline I just said, we're gonna well, London said the timeline for 6 months to a year. I'm like, I'm not saying it has to be that. I'm saying like somebody could come here and just knock my socks off and be like, I could be like, whew, she just showed me a whole different side I ain't never seen. I'm cool, whatever, but I don't see it happening. But it could happen in 3 to 4 months. But I just haven't seen nobody show. And do you agree with this? Oh, we had this topic. This is great.
Yeah.
Do you think should you have a strong communication and not have a sexual relationship? Because having a sexual relationship messes up the relationship.
Oh shit. So what's the what's the question?
Okay, so do you feel by having that strong communication to build that relationship while not having sexual intercourse, do you think that messes up a relationship by having sexual intercourse in the beginning of a relationship?
This is what I say. I think having intercourse for the first time is a wall that has to be broken at some point, because you have to see how that person acts after you guys have gotten intimate. Are they the same, or is your attraction to them solely based on your physical attraction? The one thing I say is that the best interactions I've had with women are the ones where I enjoy their company and their time outside of us. Like, I don't ever have to think about, oh man, this woman is so fine. It's like, man, I love her energy and I love like her mindset more. So, and then she just happens to be physically appealing to me. Like it's the mental and the mindset first. I mean, not even first. I was attracted to her first, obviously. So there's the appeal, but the reason why I choose to be around her, or I choose to stick around her versus somebody else, is because there's actually value in terms of being able to be mentally stimulating. I have a lot that goes on in this mind, as you've seen, London. So if you're a person who's just kind of well, and just like you don't know how to hold a conversation, then I'm gonna lose attraction. So that's what I say is that, whether you want to have sex in the beginning or whether you want to have it later, at some point, I do think if you're gonna be exclusive with somebody, then you're gonna have to get that out the way to see, okay, like, is this person really the same person after we've had sex, or do I even still like this person as much, or was my infatuation with them solely physical? Because if it was solely physical, then you were with them for the wrong reasons, in my opinion. So that's how I'm gonna answer that.
That's a great point. That like y'all's relationship side could be very buns, but the sexual side could be really good, and you could be holding on to that side. But I think a lot of women would not be hurt if they didn't do this, because I'm gonna be real with you, and it's just an open podcast, and this is what it is. A lot of men don't take y'all serious, in my opinion, women, because y'all give it up too easy. That's just my opinion. That's just what I agree with. I challenge women to not give it up for 6 months to a year and see how many men stick around. Guarantee that those men will be limited. It will be 2 to 3 left. Now you can pick from there.
Okay, I see where you went there.
Instead of
I see where you went there.
just challenge a man and be like, you know what, I want you to get to know me. And let's see if we can build that relationship. And then say, if you're still sticking around, we still seeing each. Like, imagine if you saw a woman for 6 months to a year, and she already told you we're not having any. I talked to a girl after my ex. Mm-hmm. She was a virgin. Mm-hmm. I liked her so much that I said, dang, I'm really past the virgin side. But I liked her so much that I was like, man, that's dope. To me, I think that's a temple. So the fact that you're not giving yourself up to nobody, you want to make sure that's a good side for you. I'm like, man, that to me, that's attractive to me. But also, I don't really care about the virgin stuff no more, because it's like you're not experienced and like it's gonna be a little weird. But if you have one or two bodies, I'm which is really unheard of now. But if you have one or two bodies, I'm like shocked, but I'm like, wow, that excites me to be like, man, you have morals and values.
I have a question, and then this question is going to lead to my point. What was it about that person who you spoke to after your ex that happened to be a virgin? What was it that kept you attracted to her if you guys weren't talking about intimacy? Like, what was it about her that kept you interested?
For her, it was that we had similar backgrounds. She was from Stockton, California. I'm from Detroit. She had a similar storyline. I'm like, I can relate to you on that type of level. And we just kind of clicked early. We clicked super early, and it was just like, wow. But like, it fell off because her communication sucked. Like, I can't do non-communication. And then she kind of, I respect her because she said, she's like, there's somebody that is back at home, but there's also you. I respect her because she kept it real with me. She communicated with me. I never got mad at her for that. I was like, I don't trust you, but I kind of do trust you because you told me what it was from the get-go. And we just had an honest relationship and we communicated, but she was kind of childish at the same time. But I just think we had that similar background from like storylines that I thought that would be cool. That's a little cool storyline.
So the reason I asked the question is that I hear what you're saying, that, you know, women shouldn't give it up for 6 months. You challenge them to do that. What I hear from the other side is that the problem isn't the timeliness in which they give it up. It's the ability to have some depth to her after she gives up the intimacy. It's like, okay, yeah, we've had sex, but then what else is like, what else? Not are you offering, but like, okay, after the sex, like what's the personality? What's the draw? Do you have any depth? Do you know how to do anything else? Are we even compatible? Do you even have anything like other than your body to talk about? So that's the thing, is that, you know, I so many women, their problem is not being able to like, it's not a matter of them giving up the intimacy too quickly. I think what many people would argue from the other side is that it's what else are you offering, or what else do you have to your personality, to yourself, other than, you know, like your body. It's like, do you have the ability to hold a conversation, or do you just know how to do that? Like, you know, I see this whole thing of like, don't give up the cookie until he's proven himself or until he's invested. It's like, okay, then once you give up the cookie, what's your tactic? Like, what are you going to do then? Because right now you're utilizing a strategy in order to keep him attracted. But then, you know, you don't know how to retain attraction after post-sex is the problem. So I think more so it's about having depth to yourself. It's the same thing for guys too. Guys, it's their problem is usually through their lifestyle and their money. Okay, you have money, that, or you have a nice physique, you have a nice body, whatever the case may be. So you're able to attract women, but then you get them out on a date. You don't know how to talk about anything. You don't know how to sound attractive. You let your money be so much of, or your time or your resources or your network or whatever the case may be, whatever that's outside or your exterior be so much of what influenced you, rather than saying, look, this intangibly is what I believe in. This is what I stand on. This is what I'm presenting to you. This is my confidence. And this is what I think is attractive about myself. Like, you don't say that, but I'm just saying, this is what I'm presenting, and you're either going to take it or you're not. I think that's why people hear the strategy of hold off 6 months, and maybe people would raise an eyebrow to that. Just doesn't mean to kind of challenging what you just said.
I think, don't get me wrong, if a woman wanted to have sex and the first date, second date, whatever, I'm probably gonna do it if I like you. So I'm not saying that I won't, but I'm saying like, and there are some women who can be good if they do it in the first or second date. But for me, I'm just saying what I feel like men think and maybe what I feel like they might lean towards. If I have sex with you the first date, what is that? Or even second date, third, fourth, to me, they're dang near the same thing. What does that say about you in my head? That's how I think. I'm like, sure. I just put you in the same category as somebody I've met at a club and came back home with.
You would start to think, how many times has this happened? Rather than
how many times has this happened? Because it's like, if you came, this is what a woman would say. If he's not a weirdo, he was respectful, he opened the door, he paid for dinner, I'm letting him get the cat. A dude can really strategically do all that on purpose and then get that. I'm like, how many times have you gave this up? Now I'm thinking like, bro, I'm not special no more. What's so special about me? Because you just giving it up to everybody. But if a woman,
so I hear from the other side of this. This is a good dichotomy for people to kind of take and think about, honestly. So then the other side of the spectrum would say, so you just said, I opened the door, I took her out, I paid for dinner. When I wanted to ask her if she wanted to come hang out, she says no. But I know, especially because modern culture says that she's probably being intimate with somebody else and it's not me. Why reinvest again if I know I'm not getting it? Because I'm attracted to her. So,
wait, so you're saying
I'm proposing the counter to what you just said. This isn't necessarily.
So you're saying basically, if you do all that and she says, "I'm not coming in,"
if she doesn't, let's say you're attracted to her, you want her to come over and she says, no, I'm good, or I don't see you that way, or whatever the case may be. She says no, or she says, I'm not feeling it, not right now, whatever the case may be.
I like that.
I do too. I respect it, but it's just
somebody. I went on a date with somebody. She was like, you know what? Thank you for dinner. She's, I'm gonna go home. She was like, I don't want to do anything tonight. Like, I know she's like, as much as I'm attracted to you, like, I don't want us to start off on that foot. I said, I respect you 100%.
I respect that, absolutely.
I said, the fact that I shouldn't be buying you dinner just to get sexual things.
Yeah, that's right. That's how most guys are wired. Like, it's so transactional that it's like, okay, and see, that's the problem.
That's why this dating stuff is horrible. It's crooked. That's why I don't need to be in it no more. I need to find me a wife.
I don't want that, but it's just about understanding, like, not make it like get dating. The reason why I proposed it that way was just to understand, like, just to highlight like the dichotomy and how opposite people, like, so how polar people's mindsets are. It's not to say one way is right or wrong, but it's just
not to say I'm more speaking on my terms of it, of how I feel that women, I think they will eliminate so many more issues if they just went about it this way. Because I watched this interview. This dude said the world would be such a better place if women just wore
I know what you're talking
their body counts on their foreheads. I agree. I'm sorry. I tell you, I agree. Like, to me, I agree. For me, because if I saw 50, 60 on your forehead, I'm not even going towards you. So it's like, if you had 3, I was like, ooh, you respect yourself. They're gonna say, well, why did the same thing happen for men? Here we go. And that's the topic of the day. Why can we have?
I'm not gonna address that topic today. What my whole thing is that instead of it being like, I just say, if like for women, or for men and women, don't get into this whole playing the game and stringing each other along. Like, if you guys are attracted to one another and you guys want to do that, great. If the woman communicates to the guy, hey, like what London said, I had a great time, but I just want to go home because I don't want to start off on the right foot. Cool. Like, at least you communicate with that. You just got to respect that. And if that's a deal breaker for you, okay, cool, peace out. But if you respect that, then cool, stand on it and then keep on going. And women don't utilize that as a means of like, oh, I'm gonna hold out to see what else I can get for them. Because I hear that whole meal ticket thing kind of come in and get argued, right? It's just people got to get back to having genuine interactions again and not making it such a like power play and such a, ooh, I got to do this as a strategy. It's like, bro, dating is not that complicated. It's not that hard. Go out with somebody who you're attracted to. You guys feel each other out. And then if you guys catch a spark, great, amen, hallelujah. But if not, okay, hey, I wasn't really feeling this. You move on with your life. I think so much is I'd rather keep bad company as a means of, getting attention or just getting something as opposed to nothing. I think that's where it gets kind of muddy, unfortunately.
Facts. Oh, man.
Drop the hammer on their ass. Nah.
Crazy world out here. I think that's the problem, though. But hey, to each his own.
Hey, man, we just gotta have these conversations because, people may think, man, you guys think about this dating stuff too much. And like even, the conversation kind of is focused a little bit more on this dating stuff. The reason why I feel like it's important to have these talks from time to time, more so, is because I'm noticing, me being like in and what we're studying content creators, a lot of the originals are kind of fading away, and these conversations are still needed. They're still had. People still are curious about them. People still want to have them. You see more platforms kind of talk about this, and I think this is a good thing. Just opening the platform and having the different perspectives, the different minds come together and talk, instead of being, combative and saying, nope, I'm going to stick to my beliefs. I'm going to stick to my group think, and then y'all stick over there. It's like, no, let's come together. And if there's disagreements, then you guys have those conversations and see where people are, agreeing or disagreeing, right? Okay, what's really the exchange? What really is the problem? And get to the root cause and fix it, rather than saying, nope, we're just gonna stay silent and just hate and just hate. It's like, nah, let's fix this. That's why, like, people who like I was telling London offline, I had a lot of people challenging my ideals this week as far as just the way that I am, the way I think. I'm all for that because I know that that's going to make me better, because either I'm going to reinforce why I think that way and people going to see it, or they're going to have the things that they're going to challenge back. And I'm all for having healthy disagreements and trying to, get to that. And I think more people need to have these conversations because it helps us all grow in the end. That's my opinion.
That was a good ending.
Yes, sir. Well, that'll do it for this week's podcast again. We've been away for a couple of weeks. London was on vacation. I've been doing my thing. And so, just to give y'all a little bit of gems to go on and to kind of marinate on for the next couple of days and for the coming week. But, as always, we appreciate you guys who listen and tune in with us, tap in with us, and who are supporting the movement, as I stated in the beginning. Continue to do so. We're going to keep on bringing the content for you. Got a lot more in store, a lot more guests, a lot more subjects we're going to tackle as we continue to grow. But you guys can follow me at ob.mike56 on IG. Tap in and send us your questions, send us your episode, and we'll get it done for you. L, you know what to do.
Y'all can follow me on London_Ogletree. That's my IG and everything across the board. But I definitely appreciate y'all. That kind of gave me a little spunk to coming back at the end. So I'm looking forward to doing more, y'all. So continue to keep blessing us and continue to keep supporting us, and we appreciate y'all.
Most definitely. We'll catch y'all next week. We out. Much love.
Around, feet on the ground with a prove you wrong mindset. I'd rather go out on my sword to have my mind tapped. The ones with eyes can never see, I make the blind clap. I'm bringing back that type of sound that once defined rap.